a lot of ITOs said to us on the work we were doing supporting ITOs, they said, look, we haven't got any examples of embedded literacy and numeracy resources. We're not too sure what they look like. Have you got any examples? And we could show them examples, but they tended not to be New Zealand examples. They were UK examples. So what TEC contracted us to do was to develop some resources using health and safety as the context. And the choice of health and safety was because it was a context that went across all industry sectors. It didn't matter where you work, health and safety is a key issue. And the key thing for us was about embedded literacy was it involved the intentional and not accidental, and there have been a few accidental ones we've seen, intentional building of literacy and numeracy required by the trainee or learner in that particular context, in the health and safety context. So that was the background to this and why we went into this and how we've developed these things. I want to talk a little bit about what we try to do. We've tried to make these workbooks as flexible as possible, but we deliberately chose workbooks after some discussion because they work in most industry sectors and in most contexts. So if we'd chosen something online, that may have been a problem. So we deliberately chose to use self-paced workbooks. We chose health and safety as a context because of the very reason I just gave you, because it covers all sectors and workplaces, and it tends to be one of the first things that people learn in an industry training or workplace training situation. So, you know, health and safety induction is really important, so we chose that. It's also something actually I really enjoy working with, and in my previous work as a tutor I really enjoyed working on health and safety, and it's a great context to embed literacy and numeracy. We also decided alongside the self-paced workbooks to develop trainer guides. So if you had trainees or learners who couldn't use the self-paced workbooks because their reading skills weren't at the required level, I should say step, I've got to keep reminding myself about that, then we had to think about how could they still access this. So we developed trainer guides that could be used by workplace trainers, industry trainers, workplace literacy tutors, community literacy tutors, you name it, anybody, to support learners who didn't have the required reading skills and also to work with groups. So sometimes being flexible means, as a number of you will know, because I know this is part of your job description, you start putting your head up your bottom, you know, and it starts to get a bit confusing and you have to pull it out and go, oh, what was I meant to be doing? Oh, yeah, that's right. So we had a few moments like that during this project, and luckily, as I said, from the ITOs and others, we got some feedback that enabled us to keep a bit of perspective. The trainer guides all look the same, and they've all been developed for inexperienced trainers. So if you're an experienced trainer or an experienced tutor, you can cut out a whole lot of stuff. So we tried to cover all angles on the basis that people could ignore stuff, get rid of it, do whatever they liked with them. And the other thing we did was one of the parts of the contract was they had to be developed in Word, so that it wasn't a PDF that nobody could then access. They are, in fact, in PDFs and Word. I'll tell you how you can get them later. But they're in Word so that people can change them. So they look a bit clunky sometimes. They certainly don't look as flash as the Creative Family resources that I've seen so many of. But they look a bit clunky because they're in Word, but and one of the other requirements of the contract was they need to be printed out in black and white. But it's a bit hard when part of your thing's on workplace signs and you're trying to get people to understand what a red sign means and a yellow sign means, and they're all in grey. So you'll see that some you'll have to choose that they get printed out in colour and some in black and white. I haven't got any copies of the workbooks here because I knew if I bought them, I was thinking, when we found out how many people were coming, I was thinking, A, I'm not going to carry that many. B, the colour printer, people at work would be going, Susan. So they're going to be available on our website and you'll be able to download them. I'll tell you about that later. we have nitpickers in our organisation. They're checking them now to make sure there's no spelling mistakes. Typos, I call them these days. So again, the whole purpose was to develop flexible resources that could be used by anyone. It didn't matter if you're in a service sector or in a manufacturing sector, and you could change the pictures, you could take out activities, put activities in, and we tried to be flexible with them.